Wow, thank you for joining us today. It's really exciting to see all of us here today for this wonderful first roundtable for energy professionals. This is where we come to sharpen our souls. Yeah. Over time as a professional, you still need to stack up your skills. You need to spread out your knowledge, get a little more knowledge. And this is where we come to sharpen our souls. We get to listen to wonderful speakers who are experts in their fields and to just learn more about the different fields of energy. And so we are really excited about this first webinar, and we are looking forward to many more, which will be giving you details about even as we run up to our conference, which happens in October. Let me tell you, we are already in gear one, running all the way to be able to deliver the conference for 2023. So everywhere where we have people gathering together, we must have some ground rules so that you're able to work together. So we ask that you please mute yourself unless you're called upon to speak. Please rename yourself to have your official name and organization if you can, so that we know which organizations are joining us. You can put on your video if you're in an appropriate place to do so, and if you have the bandwidth to be able to do so. And then please post your questions on the chat even as we go along, and you can also raise your hands when it's the Q&A session for different speakers. So today we have 3 speakers joining us today, and the format will be that one speaker speaks and then we have a short Q&A for them. So you get to ask your questions at that point, and then we also will be able to move to the next speaker until we are done with all the 3 speakers. So those are our rules of thumb for today's session, just to keep us in check. As I said, the roundtables are part of our events for the year. We have the 4 roundtables this year already planned out, and we have a brochure which we will be able to send out to all of you who are joining our webinar this morning. And to give you details of the other webinars that are, the other roundtables that are lined up, as well as the conference date and the venue. We'll also have the Innovation Challenge coming back. We have a Youth Innovation Challenge this year, and we also have the World Energy Day Awards. And the theme for this year is Powering Africa's Energy Sustainability. Powering Africa's Energy Sustainability, and we have a sub-theme that is Driving Policy, Partnerships, Productive Use, and Progressive Innovation. And so these 4 sub-themes will be what we'll focus on in our roundtables for this year. And as you can see, our roundtable for this year focuses on productive use of energy. So productive use of energy is our theme for this webinar. And our sub-theme is accelerating pathways to scaling economic growth and profitability. So I'd like to know, what do you think productive use is? Maybe you can see it in the chat. What do you think productive use is from our audience before we get to hear from our speakers? You can just put it on the chat. What is productive use of energy? Should I give a gift to the first person who puts it on the chat? Okay, we are waiting. Yeah, I'll give a gift to the first person who puts it on the chat. What is productive use of energy? Ruth, you're ready. Using energy productively, yes. Eileen, thank you for producing more with less energy. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes, Robert says the efficient and effective use of energy resources to achieve meaningful outcomes that contribute to economic growth, social development, and environmental sustainability. Wow. Thank you, Robert from Kahawa. I can see the coffee is working. Is the use of energy, Wilson says it's the use of energy for economic activity, which results to income, generation of income. That's correct. The use of useful and efficient use from engineer Edith. And we have Nicholas who says it involves utilization of energy for activities that enhance income. All right, thank you. All who have contributed, indeed, you are on the right path. It is the use of energy, but more importantly, it's the use of energy that increases income or productivity. So we have to look at both how is it improving the income of people that are using the energy or their productivity or welfare. So that is really important when it comes to the productive use of energy. And I think this will go to Robert because the first two ladies are in-house, but our gift will go to Robert Karuga. Please inbox me your phone number and I will be following that up. All right, I think we'll start off with a poll, first poll that will just help us to get into the vote before we go to our first speaker. So Ruth, kindly launch our first poll. Yes, we have our first poll question, which is, which of the following sectors would most accelerate the uptake of productive use of energy? Which sector do you think would most accelerate the productive use of energy? You can see the answers are coming in fast. We have 4 listed here. I know there are more. But we have agriculture, we have manufacturing, we have transport, and then we have micro and small and medium enterprises, so MSME. Okay, answers are coming in, and yes, we have 29 people who've answered so far. Okay, we'll wait for a few more. Give it another 5 seconds. If you haven't answered, please do so. Okay, please ensure you mute yourself. And I think we can end the poll there and share the results. As you can see, 48% of you think that agriculture would most accelerate the uptake of productive use, followed by a 36% who think it's manufacturing, and then 9% believe it's MSMEs, and then 6% believe it would be transport. So thank you for your responses for this poll question. And it is right on this cue that we will move to our first speaker, who is into productive use within the agriculture sector. So Penny, I think you won in this poll if there was winning. So I'll just introduce Penny. Penny is Penny Morton, a senior project engineer at Cool Mill Systems. And Cool Mill offers a disruptive, modern, high-performance rice processing technology, which delivers more food from existing harvest with 90% less energy and less environmental impact. So Penny has been working in Kenya and in Nigeria to empower rural rice producers and through affordable and off-grid, economically viable small-scale process solutions. And I'm sure she'll tell us more about the solution that they have at Cool Mill and how it is able to accelerate the post-harvest, reduce post-harvest losses, and ensure that there is more profits within the rice value chain. Over to you, Penny. We're happy to have you here.
Hiya. Are you okay to share the slides? Is that easier?
I think it would be best if you did. Are you
Yeah.
able to share from your end?
Yeah, no, I can share, no worries. Let me just get
Alright,
them up. Let me find them. Okay. Can everyone see that? Yeah?
yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, Lynette, for the introduction. So yeah, I'm Penny from Cool Mill, and we are passionate about bringing disruptive and affordable rice processing to Africa. So here in this picture, you can see a typical SME miller who we met in our trip to Nigeria. Currently, her machinery is really inefficient. It's extremely destructive as well. It breaks the rice, and this results in wasted rice and a huge loss in value as well. These machines consume a lot of power as well, making them extremely energy efficient, and they usually are run off diesel. However, this miller is unable to upgrade her machinery because it's just simply too expensive to buy a new modern rice milling machine. And as a result of this, she's excluded from accessing those high value rice markets. Now, this miller, she's not alone. There's around 1.5 million underperforming SME millers. And in Nigeria alone, over 80% of this rice produced today is by these underperforming SME millers. So it's really important that we don't ignore them and we address this issue because there's a huge opportunity to make a difference here. So looking, towards one solution, and we believe that Cool Mill is one of those solutions. So we offer a best-in-class rice processing solution as a service to these SME millers. We take the raw paddy from the fields, which is a low-value commodity, and then we process this on the Cool Mill machine into white rice, a high-value end product. And we differ from our competitors, as Lynette mentioned, with the same paddy input, we use less power and we produce more rice and at a higher quality, resulting in benefits for everyone along the rice value chain. Cool Mill's technology is patented and it works totally different from any of our competitors. So firstly, as our name suggests, we cold mill instead of hot milling, which is why we're called Cool Mill. And as a result, the way that the technology works is this is the reason that we end up with a reduction in power by up to 90%. And secondly, we work really gently with the rice. It's a kind of fluid dynamic problem. So this, as a result, this reduces our brokens from 60% to 10%. And this means that the miller can have a much bigger profit because brokens are a lot less value than the head rice. Our technology has been validated by Indian and UK governments, and we recently have completed milling trials out in Kenya just last month. We've milled over 100,000 tons of rice today on this F1 machine, which you can see on the screen. So on the top right hand side, that's our pilot in the UK. So this is at the National Centre of Excellence for Food Engineering. And here we really, push the boundaries of rice processing, and we're looking to the future. So how can we use data to, automatically to be able to remotely monitor the machine? We've actually turned this machine on from the Philippines, where my boss was there and I was in the centre. So that was incredible. But really being able to optimize the whole process. And on the bottom, this is our pilot in India as well. And uniquely at Cool Mill, we can size the machines to match the need without any loss in performance. So yeah, kind of, mentioned some of these before in terms of the solutions. Is the big one here today, obviously we're talking about energy. So we can reduce the energy bills by up to 90%, which is of huge interest right now to SME processors and rice millers, because energy costs are going through the roof. We're also power agnostic as well. So we can run off of diesel, solar, biogas, you name it, we can run off of that. Another point as well is, we are a more expensive machinery option in comparison to, maybe smaller machines that you would get now. But the way that we combat this is the miller doesn't pay for the machine outright. They actually pay to use the machine. So it's the machinery as a service model. And this is, how we can get this best in class machinery and make it affordable to, the people who really need it most. And this is really all about giving, access to these millers to high value rice markets. And, we're extremely passionate about creating and retaining this value locally. So right now, a lot of rice is, imported into Africa. And there's a huge opportunity to be able to add value to the rice paddy in country and then export it and create, a lot more money rather than having to import rice. So as you can see here in this picture, we can downsize our machinery to suit the size and the requirements of the customer. So the machine on the right is a 1 ton an hour machine, and that uses 5 kilowatt hours per 1 ton milled. So that's our kind of full scale production machine. And then on the left is a concept machine, which is 3D printed. And this is on a really small scale. And that's the size of machine that we took out to Kenya with us this month, just because we could fit it in our suitcases. So it was easy and we didn't need to, rely on any import duties and things like that. And it was just really as a form of testing. So we could test it on the Kenyan paddy and rice in country and get a feel from the customers. Is this something they're interested in? Is it going to benefit them, etc., etc.? So we also do see, there's probably a machine in the middle here, a 0.5 ton an hour machine, which is probably the most commercially viable and technically viable as well. And then just a bit on the machinery as a service. I've kind of mentioned this before, but we don't sell the machine. Instead, we charge for processing the rice, which is very similar to, how energy and mini grid firms work. The customer doesn't pay for the whole mini grid installation. They just pay for the electricity because that's what they want. If you ask a rice miller, what they want white rice because that's what they can sell at the end. They don't actually want the machinery. So the benefits of this model to the customers is it mitigates the technical risk, which is one of the main barriers to adopting a new technology. There's no high capital costs. It offers them cost certainty as well. So they know exactly how much they need to pay for that month for the next 5 or 10 years, depending on the contract. And when currently right now, when their rice machinery stops working, they're losing money every single minute. And, that type of machinery breaks a lot. But with the Cool Mill, in their contract, they'll have a guaranteed number of machine hours. So if anything's wrong with the machine, Cool Mill will fix it, and even replace the machine if necessary, but we don't envision that will ever be needed. But it's just, we guarantee that those number of milling hours to the customer. And the benefit to Cool Mill in this is that they have a recurring and increased revenue stream. And as I mentioned before, we're able to monitor and optimize the machinery. Cool Mill are the experts in rice processing, and we want to make sure that our customers using the correct machine settings for that particular type of rice grain, which results in more profit for the miller. And, you know, with diesel prices rising, millers are seeking ways to reduce costs right now. So the cool mill machinery, you know, being able to offer a significant reduction in their power bill is massively, you know, is of great interest right now. So here on the screen, you can see one of the mini grid sites that we were visiting when we were in Nigeria. And on the bottom right, you can see a picture of all of the machinery which is not being used in the community because it's, you know, it requires too much power. So it means it's too costly to run. So therefore they're not using it at all. And this is where we see, you know, Cool Mill as a solution to this problem, is the fact that we are, you know, power agnostic and we are low power. So it means that people can use our machinery and still be able to make a profit at the end of the day as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on. And yeah, here's just, you know, some of the benefits to one of our customers that we've, you know, worked through the service contract with is they would reduce their power cost by 96%, which is a $250 a day power saving. As well as this, they reduce their brokens from 60 to 10%, which is a $320 a day saving in rice savings. And this, you know, added up together means that their additional profit is $502 a day. And for context, this would be replacing their current rice milling machines with a single cool mill machine at 2 tonne a day on a 5-year service contract. And, you know, looking towards the circular economy aspect of it is we really envision our mission is to be able to use every single part of the rice plant. So we work with a lot of different partners to be able to make that happen. And you can see on the top right, we have, you know, off-grid power source. So we want to be able to, you know, run off of solar, biogas, even, you know, if it's diesel, but it's a lot less diesel. You know, we're not fussy about our power. We just use a lot less of it. So there's a massive opportunity there. And in terms of, you know, other aspects of the circular economy of it, is, you know, we can use the rice straw to be able to generate heat and power. We also have done projects being able to, you know, use our byproducts to be able to make a replacement for Portland cement. And also we've been doing work at in the university in the UK to be able to make our bran into a nutritious human food ingredient. Because of the way that our process is our bran is extremely fine and it doesn't degrade. So there's an opportunity there to, you know, valorize that byproduct and make it, you know, make even more money for the customer. And yeah, I think, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions, but, you know, our vision is to transform an antiquated and wasteful global industry that feeds 3.5 billion people daily, move it to a sustainable future and lift millions from food and fuel poverty. So yeah, thank you. Happy to answer any questions that anyone's got.
Wow, amazing. I just want to clap for the wonderful work that you're doing, Penny, at Cool Mill. I think it's really great to see the impact that, you know, just the impact you have on farmers and their productivity and, you know, their incomes as well. So really just embodying productive use in every way. Yeah, I can't see any questions in the chat, but I would like to invite any questions from the audience. I think it's really great to hear about, you know, milling as a service, because that reduces the capital costs. I don't know, maybe you can tell us what percentage of the savings from, you know, the rice savings or the income savings does Cool Mill take in the milling as a service model?
Yeah. So the way that we calculate the whole business model is we have a spreadsheet. So we are extremely transparent, and we want to, really work with our customers. So we calculate how much added value Cool Mill is going to create for you. So, currently you have this rice mill, and you are creating X number of brokens and using so much power associated with that. You replace that machine and you put in a Cool Mill machine, and as a result you're going to be making more rice, and more rice at a higher quality, so you're going to have less brokens, and as a result you're going to be able to sell your product for a higher for a higher price. So we've got that all in a spreadsheet, and we would come and do essentially a full audit. So we would work with you, we would calculate, all of these numbers, we put them into a spreadsheet, and then we do a direct comparison with, this is how much more you would make with Cool Mill. And out of that extra added value that we create for you, we would take 20% of that additional value. So, it's a new business model as well, but it's to try and, tell our customers that, we have knowledge and skills in rice processing, and we want to optimize that machinery for you. And as a result, we would like 20% of that added value, but that still leaves you with, 80% of those profits, which, I can show you in the kind of the spreadsheets, and as I showed you some of the numbers there, for our Miller Grace in Nigeria, they're still making, significantly more money than they were before. So it's not been a problem when we have spoken to customers about that business model. But yeah, it's a new one, and it's even when I was joining Cool Mill, I had to take my, it took me a while to get my head around that as well.
Yeah. And is it like a lease to own kind of model, or is it just a lease?
It's just a lease. So, we've designed our machinery to be really high quality, and we've designed it for service. So at the end of, a service contract, we would make sure that the machines, are still running. We can replace the parts. It's a lot more sustainable as well, because it means that, we can continue to upgrade the machines that are out in the field. So, if we want to bring in some new technology, then we can, implement that in all of the new machines. Whereas if we do a lease to own, and then we sell the machines, we lose control of the machines, but also the customer is going to end up with a piece of machine that might become outdated, and we don't want that. The miller wants white rice at the end of the day for the highest profit, and that's what we are there to do. And we don't believe that a lease to own model is going to achieve that. But we have the technology, and we know that the technology solution works, but a lot of our work in Africa has been, how can we adapt our business model to suit the African market, and to, really bring about this technology to the smallholders and the SME processors. So to be totally honest, this is something that we are still working through, and we're open to any suggestions from people who are have experience in this, because we want to be able to bring this technology to Africa.
All right. I can see a lot of interest from our chat. Wilson is asking how he can access the Cool Mill rice processing equipment. I think maybe you could respond to that as I try and put together the rest of the questions.
Yeah, no worries. So right now we are trying to set up a pilot in either Kenya or Nigeria. We've done a lot of kind of groundwork in Nigeria, and then because there was a massive security risk and the elections coming up, we had to kind of last minute switch to Kenya. But they're both very similar in terms of how the rice market works. There's just a lot more rice in Nigeria. But in terms of like accessing our technology right now, is that once we have this pilot set up in Kenya or Nigeria, then we will invite people who are interested to view the technology and then we can take it from there. But if you do have a rice mill right now, then just drop me an email or my boss an email. You can contact us through the website, and we have a kind of set of questions that just give us an initial idea of what are you what's the size of the mill you have right now, or even if you don't, are you looking to build a new one? If so, what size is that? It's just a quick kind of 10 questions to give us an idea of your current rice processing setup, and then after that we can set up a call, a follow-up call with you, and discuss the next steps. But right now in Africa we are kind of more at the piloting stages, but we're definitely interested to still speak to you and to see where things go. But just to let you know, that's where we're at right now.
All right. Thanks for that, Penny. I think you've answered most of the questions in the chat. I can see someone asking how much you charge, but you said it's a milling as a service, so people pay as you go. Someone is also asking about operations and maintenance, which you said you do that within the lease. And I think, what other question? There's a question about what if someone wants to buy the machine up front? Do you have that as an option?
No, so we don't have that as an option. It's only a machinery as a service as an option to access the machinery.
Okay, all right. And then there's a question about what percentage of share of Kenya's and Nigeria's rice processing market do you have? I think you mentioned you're just starting out with a pilot right now.
Yeah, we're just starting out in the pilot stage right now. So, we're really just understanding the market more, trying to get our machinery there in a kind of, commercial pilot setting, so that we can invite people to see it and then scale from there. The way that we want to scale is through something called milling clusters. So essentially we have a pilot, and then around that pilot we have maybe say 9 or 10 machines that are easily accessible for our engineer to service and to maintain those kind of 10 machines that are within a certain radius. And then from that we would then create another pilot in the nearby city or town, whatever it is, and then we would then create a cluster around that, because rice is very different in across Kenya. Rice is still extremely different, so having that kind of pilot there first means that we can really set up the machine, just optimize it so that people are making the most amount of money from that rice. They're not breaking any of it, and it's to the really high quality. So that's the kind of way that we plan to scale. So yeah, just if anyone has ideas around that, but that's the plan right now.
All right, thanks for that, Penny. We'll take the two last questions. Has Cool Mill explored biochar, carbonizing the rice husks as fertilizer supplements as part of your circularity efforts?
Yeah, so we actually have a partner, Pyrogenesis, who we visited a lot of these rice mills when we were in Nigeria for those like two weeks, and we spoke to an organic miller who actually uses biochar. He saw a video online of an American professor, and he went to do it, and he said that during the droughts his crops were fine, and he saw massive benefits to using biochar. So yeah, we're looking to partner with the pyrolysis technology, because we can use we can power our machinery from the rice waste, the waste, and then we can, as a byproduct, we can use the biochar to improve the way that the rice is grown as well. So yeah, that's the kind of that's the dream situation. It's everything joining up, and it's totally circular economy, and it's possible. And farmers are waking up to that, and they see the benefits of biochar as well. So yeah, we are definitely open to proceeding with that.
Yeah, I love the spirit of collaboration that you have at Cool Mill and partnership. I think that will get us moving faster into circularity for sure. I think we'll take the last question here. How old is the equipment and what other parts of the world has it been rolled out in?
Or say that last bit again.
Well, where has the technology been rolled out in other parts of the world, and how old is the technology?
So currently we've got our pilot in the UK and we've got a pilot in India. So India is our main kind of market and focus because our machine is set up for basmati milling, which is, you know, where we can make a big difference in the brokens because there's a lot of value in not breaking basmati. So, you know, we're a way to commercialize right now in India. And a lot of the work that we're doing in Africa is more focused on the smaller size of the machine. So, you know, how can we make a half a ton machine, which is the half size of the bigger one? Can we make that commercially viable for, you know, SMEs, processors and smallholders? So right now that's where we've got both of our machines, and, you know, the technology is ready, but because we're doing a machinery as a service model, is finding the funds to be able to populate that initial user base is a challenge. But, you know, we're working very hard on that in the background right now. So yeah, right now UK and India, but hopefully in this, you know, next year there'll be machines a lot more places around the world.
All right, we wish you all the best as you roll it out around the world. I'm sure the world really does need this technology and you'll be able to roll it out. Please drop your email on the chat so that anyone who is interested in the cold mill system is able to reach you and ask you any further questions.
Thank you very much.
It's almost 6 a.m. in the UK where Penny is. Yeah, you can hang on and listen to the rest of the speakers, or if you want to go back and get a nap, you can still do that. So thank you so much, Penny, for your time. We really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to our next speaker. And our next speaker is in the room. His name is Michael Miner. Michael is a senior associate at CLASP, and he supports research under the Clean Energy Access portfolio. He has over 5 years of experience doing research in energy and the environment, and also offering advisory services both in the private sector and the public sector. He used to work at EED Advisory, where he would provide insights in energy resources and demand assessments. And he holds a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Planning and Management from KU. He also loves to hike. Mike, I think me and you can be buddies. And he also volunteers in the wildlife conservation initiatives and loves nature. Mike is here to speak to us about the work that CLASP does in the productive use of energy, especially in terms of research. Michael Miner, over to you. You may turn your video on so that we may see you.
Right. Can you hear me? And can you see me?
Yes, we see you and we hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Over to you.
Maybe. Hey, thank you, Lynette, for the introduction, and thank you, Penny, for that insightful presentation. So yeah, as Lynette has said, my name is Mike Maina, and I work with CLASP as a senior program associate. I support Clean Energy Access portfolio in research and have a very keen interest in productive uses of renewable energy. And today I will be sharing about some of the works that we've been doing around productive uses of renewable energy. I know today is a productive use of energy, which is wide, clean and non-clean sources of energy, but today I'll be focusing around productive uses of renewable energy and primarily solar, and I'll explain why. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, it's not in presentation. Hey, I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay. So I will give a brief introduction about CLASP and the work that we've been doing. So CLASP is an international nonprofit promoting energy efficient appliances for the people in the planet. And primarily what we do is we try to improve the environmental and energy performance of the appliances that we used in our day-to-day lives to mitigate and adapt to climate change, as well as improve energy access. And we do this in two main areas where we have our climate and policy work, and also we have our clean energy access work, which is where I mostly provide support on. And on the climate mitigation side, on the policy work that we do, is we work in the world's top emitting countries to support them in policy review around energy efficiencies. That's primarily countries adopting minimum energy performance standards for various appliances such as ACs, TVs, even transformers and even street lighting equipment. We also have a campaign under this portfolio to promote clean lighting, transitioning away from mercury-based lighting to more cleaner and affordable lighting appliances such as LED. And in our clean energy access work, we try and work to promote affordable and high-performing appliances suitable for off and weak grid contexts. So mostly people living beyond or under the grid, or primarily underserved people, to try and improve their energy access, just considering the multi-tier framework energy access ladder. And for our clean energy access work, we do this mostly or primarily through the Efficiency for Access Coalition, which is a coalition of donors, investors, partners, and who have a goal of doubling the efficiency and reducing or having the cost of appliances appropriate for off and weak grid context. So mostly solar-based appliances, and the appliances that we have focused on in the past have been solar TVs, refrigerators, solar pumps, solar milling and agro-processing equipment, fans, and even electric pressure cookers. And how the coalition is structured is that we have the donors for the first phase of the E4A coalition. We had the FCDO and IKEA Foundation as our primary donors, but also we have an investor network who we work with to understand investor needs in terms of where the market is going in terms of just access to off-grid appliances. And we have partners like research partners such as the MEX program, which is the Modern Energy Cooking Services, GOGLA, which is the Lighting Association of off-grid solar providers. Verasol is our quality assurance framework, which I'll speak about later on. But today we are going to talk about productive uses, and I think from the definition that most people gave today, it's very much in line. And GOGLA, which is the Global Off-Grid Lighting Association, defines productive use as appliances that leverage solar energy to improve or generate new income, mostly in agriculture. And I think, as we saw also in the poll, that agriculture has one of the biggest potential for scaling productive uses, or vice versa, really. And the appliances that we focused on, productive use appliances that we have focused on in the past, we have electric pressure cookers, we have solar fridges and refrigeration units, solar irrigation or solar pumps, we have egg incubators, electric mobility, which includes two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and e-vehicles. We have solar-powered walk-in cold rooms, and milling equipment as well. But for today's presentation, I'm going to focus on solar irrigation, just because I have a very keen interest in solar irrigation, and just from the reality of today that, you know, agriculture is struggling a lot, especially because of adverse you know, effects of climate change. With ongoing droughts and climate unreliability, there is a very huge need for irrigation, and I'm going to speak to that on why solar irrigation and the barriers to scaling productive use through solar irrigation and improving livelihoods, and some of the things that we can do or are being done today to try and address these challenges. So solar irrigation, and solar water pumps are, and I'm going to be using solar irrigation, solar powered irrigation systems, and solar water pumps interchangeably, but just know that I'm referring to the same thing. But the fact our CLASP and our partners, we're mostly involved in the technology side, I'm going to be speaking around solar water pumps, which is what we focus on mostly. So situated at the heart of the water, energy, and food nexus, the solar water pumps have the potential of increasing productivity of smallholder farmers by 2 to 3-fold. And even from studies that we've done in the past, we have seen that solar irrigation, solar pumps have voted or referred to as appliances that have the potential for the biggest impact in terms of just improving livelihoods and building resilience of farmers. In sub-Saharan Africa, adoption is very low at the moment, but from a study that we carried out in 2019, just looking at the outlook of solar irrigation in sub-Saharan Africa and India, we saw that in the next decade, we estimate that the market for solar pumps is going to be increasing in sub-Saharan Africa from about 700 households to about 2.8 million households by the end of the decade. But in India, the market is shrinking, is estimated to shrink because of an ongoing subsidy that the government of India rolled out, where they provide a 60% subsidy on solar water pumps. And that's the national government. And the state's government also do provide a 30% loan or financing on the remaining 40%. So ideally, the farmer or the user is only paying 10% of that, the value of that plan. So with this opportunity, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, and just considering how many countries in sub-Saharan Africa are food insecure, there's such a big opportunity to try and improve this, adoption and penetration of these pumps. And despite this, this big opportunity or this huge opportunity, there is very little adoption, and some of the barriers we're going to be breaking them down today. And in terms of the addressable market, for instance, like in sub-Saharan Africa, we consider addressable market as people who smallholder farmers with less than 5 acres, have a water source and can be able to afford a solar water pump. So it's not really everyone. I'm sure we have very many, I think more than 300 million people involved in farming in Africa, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So some of the barriers that from the work that we've done under the E4A coalition and as CLASP, separately, we have a couple of we do see a couple of barriers that that inhibit the scaling of solar water pumps, and we have grouped them into kind of four groups. Primarily, we have affordability and access to finance. I think this cuts across all productive use appliances. Productive use appliances are not your typical solar home system kits or solar lanterns. They are huge investments. They are bigger or larger systems, and they require a huge investment by the end user. And financing is always an issue for, affordability is always an issue for most of these end users. So for solar water pumps, pricing of these appliances, you find that the competition between incumbents, which are mostly diesel and solar powered pumps, solar water pumps are often pricier. They're more expensive than than diesel-powered or petrol-powered pumps, where an entry-level solar water pump goes for about $382 to $400, but an entry-level engine pump with possibly a higher yield and more power goes for about $200. And as you can see, this huge difference. Most of the times farmers look at how much am I going to pay for this. They don't normally look at environmental benefits. They don't look at long-term benefits in terms of saved costs through from maintenance costs being substituted. And with this affordability issue, some of the companies that we've been working with have tried to address this by providing end user financing from from pay-as-you-go models, irrigation as a service, just similar to what Coolmill is doing, just having people use the pump while they're paying for it. And also in terms of in terms of financing, you find that the customer base of solar water pumps, these are smallholder farmers, often referred to as a risky client group by banks and microfinance institutions. And most of the times these farmers do not have records where you can be able to be appraised and get a solar water pump as an asset financing. Banks often shy away from giving them loans against the asset because it's not like a typical car or a motorbike where a bank can auction it and someone will buy it later on if they're not able to pay. This resellability of these pumps, makes them shy away from just using them as a form of asset financing. And even where consumer financing is provided, we have seen that some of the farmers or the end users of these pumps, they have cited, over indebtedness, most of them not being able to make their payments on time, and sometimes they have to cut back on other consumptions to be able to service their loans. And ideally, that's not sustainable when you think about it in the long run. But there are solutions in the market today, and some that can be done around trying to bring down the cost of these pumps. For instance, like in Kenya, you find like the breakdown for the cost of a solar water pump, taxes and importation levies do take up a huge chunk of it. And when you think about a serious government trying to enhance food security, trying to enhance water access and sanitation as well, and you have agricultural equipment classified as exempt from paying importation duties and levies, and you find that solar water pumps are not, then it means that there is a big disconnect around there, and there's a need for these waivers to be extended to these companies that are providing this these products. And even in country where you find, like for instance, a company, like I'll give an example for Kenya, a solar water pump company trying to promote their product across the country. If you have a branded car, if you're doing any advertisement, you have to pay advertisement fees in every county that you traverse. So obviously, like these are things that can be navigated through dialogue and in conversations with just engaging these county governments and even the national governments to try and just reduce this burden on the companies to try and bring down this cost as well. On the issue of of records and estimating creditworthiness of farmers, we have companies like Apollo Agriculture who are using novel models to estimate creditworthiness of farmers using geospatial models, looking at estimating their productivity or yield expected from a certain season. And obviously this is obviously trying to increase access to these products, and also like just exploring other financing or other partnerships through cooperatives. Like in sub-Saharan Africa, one of the biggest challenges with farmers is that they are very disaggregated, and that disorganization of farmers makes it hard for banks to appraise an individual farmer. The unit cost of trying to estimate their creditworthiness is very high, and sometimes they shy away from that. So, but you'll find that banks are partnering with with agricultural produce off-takers, farmer producer organizations to extend financing, and this can be leveraged even for for this productive use products. The second broad category of challenges that that we have seen is around the technology, and just going back to the competition with the incumbents is mostly around diesel pumps and petrol engine pumps. I'll call them engine pumps versus solar powered pumps, where you find that these pumps are known, they're low cost. They you will pump for one hour and you'll get as much water as you can with a same level solar water pump that would typically give you the same amount of water in a day, or in about 6 to 8 hours. So just improving the technology around so that it can be more, it can compete better with these technologies. I think that's a big, that's one huge area. And I know over and over the technology, we've seen a lot of improvements around using brushless DC motors as opposed to using brushed DC motors, which are costlier, and they are obviously they break down a bit more. On product quality and durability, one of the challenges that we have found even from our research as we promote these technologies, that this product quality is a big issue. When you have very poor quality products in the market, this really reduces the confidence by end users to purchase these products. And you'll find that, like for instance, one of the biggest challenge with these pumps is, breakdown and malfunction. You'll find people citing that there's low pressure from the pump, and sometimes even the battery. For the battery-enabled pumps, you'll find that the battery doesn't power the pump sufficiently. You'll find that it can only power for up to maybe an hour or so, and then it goes flat. So there's a lot of innovation and around research and development that is needed for various pump components that can really improve this, just getting the right product market fit for the market. So but what we have been doing as CLASP is around quality assurance and standards adoption. We run the Verasol Quality Assurance Program, which is a third-party quality assurance framework that developed test methods and quality standards, where we test products and we share this information publicly, and we support governments in adopting standards for a range of off-grid products. And this program is an evolution of what was formerly known as the Lighting Global Quality Assurance Program, which was the QA side of the Lighting Global program, where it was involved in promoting the growth of the off-grid solar lighting space in the globe, really, because we had the Lighting Global, we had Lighting Africa, Lighting Asia, and so on. But Verasol has evolved to include appliances, as energy, people move up the energy ladder, people desire and adopt new and larger systems. So you had a solar lantern, you moved up. It's not always linear, but ideally you'll find people move up the energy ladder and they acquire these larger systems, larger energy systems. And why we promote this quality assurance framework or adoption of quality standards is this, like for instance, a solar water pump is a huge investment for an ordinary farmer. And when you even think about a solar powered walk-in cold room, it's a huge investment even for an MSME. And what you don't want is to get a poor product that will break down after a short period of time. And also what we have seen is that programs that also support access to energy, they rely on this information to try to identify best performing products, and they try and promote that. And with that, we ensure that markets do not have, like, these quality products are the obvious choice for farmers. I mean, for end users at the end of the day. The third challenge that we have seen is around awareness of these products. And we carried out consumer awareness campaign in Machakos County. I saw someone from Machakos today, where we try to estimate or to understand the awareness levels on solar-powered irrigation systems. And we found that what is currently being used is mostly solar. It's mostly diesel, sorry, and solar is very, very low. Like the penetration of solar products is very, very low. At least 60% of the farmers have been exposed to the technology, they understand it. But what we found through a program that we've been designing for the last 1 year is that most people who buy pumps, they do so from referrals. And farmers don't just buy something off the market like you're just passing in your window shopping. It's mostly from referrals, and they have to see it working somewhere, and they have to see the benefits for them to be able to buy, to say, well, I can consider purchasing this pump. And what we saw, because we were able to reach about 3 million people, not just in Machakos, but even in the neighboring counties through radio and TVs, and even one of the popular shows, Shamba Shape Up, where we're trying to promote awareness or to enhance awareness of these technologies and the benefits these technologies present. Talk about other barriers, and why I want to talk about these other barriers is because when you think about sustainability of someone adopting a productive use appliance, productive use, we're saying we define it as increased income. So if someone adopts the product and they're not able to increase their income because there are other factors that play around to ensuring that they have increased income, then you haven't really solved the problem. It's not a productive use, it's just an asset that is burdening them. And for solar irrigation, we saw that the challenges, so like a solar water pump and any other productive use, they are not silver bullets where you say that once you give this to an end user, their problems are solved. There are many other challenges that we've seen, even for people who've adopted these technologies, citing like, water access. And with today's reality of climate change, where rainfall is, few and far between, we have erratic rainfall that comes in, heavy rainfalls, what is being referred to as rain bombs, and then we don't have rain for another 6 to 7 months. We have to encourage a lot of water harvesting, runoff harvesting, and even rainwater harvesting. So just to make sure that farmers have access to the water source, so that they can even irrigate when the rains fall. Also, like if a farmer adopts, they have water, they have a pump, they are growing more crops, that does not translate to increased incomes. There's also the issue of access to market, and ensuring that farmers have access to market is also, a critical point to ensuring that if someone bought your product on a pay-as-you-go plan, or a payment plan, then they can be able to service it because they're earning income from it. And for instance, one of the models that we've seen is through off-takers who provide solar-powered walk-in cold rooms for their farmers. That you're taking the product, you're providing the service for storing it in the in the walk-in cold room, but also it's like you're giving these farmers like a ready market for their produce. Also, we have seen the business model. When we talked about farmer disorganization, there's a big opportunity to try and promote this organization of farmers, just to reduce these instances of farmers operating individually, but because we understand the benefits of just farmer organization groups, where it's easy to extend extension services, it's easy to extend TA advisory services, and even financial services. And I think this is one of the programs that the government, in partnership with World Bank, is doing. That's the National Value Chain Development Program, supporting value chains through organized farmer groups. And also, lastly, I want to talk about this huge lack of coordination. For instance, today is World Energy Day. We're talking about productive use of energy, and we've seen that these productive uses of energy are very, very crucial for the agricultural space. So just enhancing that dialogue, just that cross-sectoral pollination between government institutions, even within program implementers, we find that people are doing pretty much the same thing, but separately. But there's obviously a lot more impact and scale when people, work together and collaborate some more. So I will stop there. I can see my time is up, and I will take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael, for that wonderful presentation. I think you've given us a great sneak peek into what kind of work you're doing at CLASP, and also the kind of barriers that we can see facing productive use appliances and just the market in general. So thank you so much for that. You can see the questions are already coming in. Dr. Ioannis says, excellent presentation. We have David Thuo, who's asking if you've reached out to KEBS and onboarded it on Verasol Q&A program. Maybe you can take that as we wait for more questions to come.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your question, David. So when the Lighting Global Quality Assurance Program started, we developed quality assurance, quality standards for solar lanterns and solar home system kits up to 350 watts. And these standards were adopted by the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Committee, which really develops test standards, and mostly they're adopted by governments after they've been reviewed and checked. So the KEBS, through the government of Kenya, they adopted these standards in 2017. And what we are doing now is trying to, there's obviously the revisions that happen. And what we're doing now is that we are, for instance, we are supporting the government of Ethiopia to develop test methods and quality standards for solar water pumps. They've already developed a lab so that they can be able to test products coming into their market. And we've been supporting them in that. So this is some of the government support that we do to try and make sure that only quality products are coming into markets, especially in sub-Saharan markets. So just to avoid dumping, which we've seen in the past. And I think even in our policy side, the minimum energy performance standards, that's what it tries to do, to make sure that we are not just getting low quality products that cannot be sold anywhere else, especially in the developed world.
I think that answers the question really well. I think my other question was on
I don't know if it's just me or did we lose Lynette?
Yes, sorry. I'm back. My internet was a bit unstable, but I think my other question was, we see a lot of the products in productive use appliances are just a lot of imports that come in, and it's hard to standardize imports mostly. So would it be easier for us to have assembly plants or manufacturing within the country? And what is CLASP doing to just enhance that here in Kenya and the rest of Africa?
Mm-hmm. We have tried to explore that, like the opportunity or the benefits of local assembly and local manufacturing, and even just speaking to like the large manufacturers such as Lorenz, Grandforce, we have Davis and Shatleaf. Sometimes you find that the investments that they have made in the past, especially in China, where we have most of the manufacturing being carried out, like they have like very streamlined processes, and even establishments in like factories in China where sometimes when you tell them to try and shift this, trying to start from scratch, they look at the opportunity, that like they look at the cost opportunity, how much cost savings are being saved from from shipping and even from the importation duties, but also in terms of the technology capability to develop these products, and even like their sourcing of raw materials, for instance. How would that play around? Because it's not just bringing in the parts, because local assembly, we have we have companies exploring just, bringing in parts, and obviously when a product is, is assembled within, in a country, there obviously that savings around the importation of a finished product, and even the excise duties that are paid. So it's a conversation that we have been having, especially like the Google Pure working group that actually had a session yesterday. But what we have seen for smaller products like, lanterns, we have people manufacturing solar lanterns within the sub-Saharan Africa market. But for these larger systems, it's still mostly India and China.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. There's a question here from Mary Gidenji, and she's asking, does CLASP work or collaborate with other standard bodies such as ASTM International? And then do you recognize standards adopted in the region, or is there cross recognition with IEC and ASTM?
So for standards, you find that most times governments adopt standards. They adopt standards that are internationally recognized, because you find that, like for instance, like Kenya, the process of the quality assurance framework for products is usually through the pre-export verification of conformity, where your products are tested at the port of exit. And then you get a certificate of conformity to come into the country. So like you find like cabs, they do not test products, like they're not going to test solar water pumps at the port, but you just come with a certificate that shows that your product was tested and it meets the standards, that the Kenyan standards. So for the IEC, it depends on the government. Some will adopt the IEC standards. You have the EU standards as well, especially like for refrigerators, that the Kenya government will look and say, well, we are going to adopt the EU standards for for refrigerators or for TVs. But really what we have been seeing is there is a big, there's obviously more benefits when products are like, we have like an East Africa adopted or an East Africa agreed standard, where a product can, like, it's easy, even if you had to carry out local assembly, products can easily be moved from Uganda to Congo to Rwanda and to Tanzania and so on. So just around the economic blocks, there is a huge opportunity there for collaboration, not just on standards, but even on bringing down the cost of these products. So for instance, like in Ethiopia, the cost of a $600 pump in Kenya, it's 2.5 times that in Ethiopia, just because of duties and transportation fees. So, just, when you look at it, it's a huge cost, obviously, but obviously there's a lot that can be done, because these products are very nascent, the markets are very small, and you find that most of the times governments do not want to regulate. You don't want to regulate such a nascent market. Normally how it's staggered is you have voluntary standards for the very nascent products, and then as the market grows, then you have mandatory standards. Like if you start regulating solar mills today, and you probably have 3 or 4 players, then you're really killing the market there. But it's easier to regulate something like like TVs, because you have more than thousands of players in the space, and everybody wants to own a TV, and it's easy to regulate there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It answers the question really well, and also calls for collaboration of the different regional blocks, so that you're able to have a voice and be able to champion for better standards. Okay, we'll take the last question here from Robert Karuga, who says, since solar energy storage is the greatest problem in solar energy, have you tried more efficient methods other than battery storage?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Robert. For energy storage, for productive uses, for productive use products, and I agree with you that storing, solar energy, I think batteries are the biggest price component when you break it down in terms of components. Batteries are very expensive, and if you look at these traditional batteries like lead cells, you have to change them every 2 to 3 years. But for the lithium-ion batteries, they're very expensive, especially if you're looking to power a large system. And what we've been trying to explore is second life batteries, like for instance, batteries that have been used to power e-vehicles. Can they be used as a second life to power smaller appliances? That is something that we are trying to explore through some research. And for solar irrigation, I always say, and I think it's agreeable, that it's easier to store water than to store energy. So you store your energy through tanks, like this, store your water, as opposed to just getting a larger battery where you can be able to pump all the time, but instead just store your water, because solar is diurnal. You have power during the day, you don't have at night. But if you store your water, it's much easier because it gives you the flexibility of being able to pump even at night, or to irrigate at night, and obviously reduces the cost that you would incur from owning a battery.
Okay. Thank you for that, Michael. I think your presentation, a lot of accolades from the comments on your presentation. It was really well done, and it has given us a lot of insights into productive use appliances and especially solar irrigation. So any other questions we'll be able to send to you directly. Okay. And I think you can also put your email on the chat so that anyone who would like to reach you on the work that class is doing can do so. And you can also hang on to listen to our third speaker who's coming up. So thank you so much, Michael, for your time and for that presentation. All right, I can see the audience is energized and really powered up to continue speaking, listening to our speakers. We have our third speaker in the room, and I'm really excited about introducing him. He's Professor, we call him Prof. LJ. Here is Professor LJ Gobler. He's I would say the father of energy in Africa, because he's been in the industry for more than 20 years, and he's advocated for the Association of Energy engineers to come to Africa and to have associations within Africa. He is a professor of mechanical engineering at Northwest University, South Africa, and he mentors a lot of masters and PhD students. He's co-authored and authored over 60 articles on energy-related matters. He serves on technical committees for different matters, including IPMVP. So if you're an energy engineer, you must know about IPMVP. He is also a director at Energy Cybernetics, and he's currently the head of Extrude Africa, an initiative that is the Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing at the Northwest University. And Extrude Africa organizes general extrusion workshops. It specializes in training, seminars, and has an annual international extrusion conference and training seminar. I know they also have machinery, which I'm sure Prof. LJ will tell us more about. It's really great to see you, Prof, and happy to have you joining us. We say Karibu here in Kenya.
Thank you, Lynette, and great to speak to you. Can you just allow me to share, please, my screen?
Yes, you can just share.
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. And let me share. There we go. I just got my screen shared. And hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. And is it now the screen that you see is the full screen? Is that correct?
Not yet. You can put it on presentation.
Let's see. Now it's on presentation mode.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to highlight a little bit. Thank you for the introduction on Extra Africa. And by the way, Extra Africa is coming to Kenya in August. So I think that is very exciting. So we've been organizing it in South Africa for the last 10, 11 years, the conference and training, and that will be in August in Kenya. So really looking forward to come back to Kenya. You know, Kenya is a lovely country. I really always enjoyed hospitality being in Kenya. So yeah, today I'm going to do my presentation on the extrusion. That is one of the spin-off companies that evolved out of the university, so which focus on the green processing technology. So what I'm going to do just is do a quick introduction of CFAM. CFAM actually started off as a research project in 1998 at the Northwest University, and it has evolved into a full-blown international company that set up food and feed processing plants. So it started off as a research, and then in 2007, the university created a spin-off company that is now a private company that drives the implementation of the technology that was developed at the university. So yes, what we proud ourselves is to be a manufacturer of world food and feed processing plants, manufacturer of that. And the main unique proposition is the twin screw food extruders that has been developed at the university. And currently, CFAM is the only manufacturer of such technology in the Southern Hemisphere and in Africa. And this is really technology that we use to actually add value to local produce and crops and cereals. That's our team. We have grown. We are 120 people, and that's our facilities just outside Potchefstroom in South Africa, where the equipment are being manufactured. So looking at our footprint, we've developed quite a footprint over, of course, we're very much active in Southern Africa, but we're moving into Central Africa as well and Eastern Africa. So hopefully one of these days we'll be in Kenya officially as well. So that is just to give you a little bit of a background. So what is an extrusion? I think this is an important thing just for a start. You know, being at the university, you always have to do some technical stuff as well, and then get to the business side of it. But extrusion is a continuous high pressure, high temperature cooking process where we use grains, cereals, and so on, and that is then cooked through a combination of moisture, pressure, temperature, and shear. Basically, what we're sitting with is the friction between the particles that we create is doing the cooking. And because of that, under high pressure in the screws of the extruder, this is the most energy efficient cooking process currently available to us to actually produce cooked products like grains and cereals. So what we're sitting with in the process is we have the raw material, which is always then a mix, could be like maize or grains or pulses, which is then fed through a preconditioner, through an extruder where we have two screws, and I'll show you a little bit later how that works. And that goes then out of the die where the product is forced through the die and immediately cut into a product. So effectively what we're sitting with is then the raw material coming in. We mill it down. So we're looking at all types of grains, you know, maize, wheat, rice, pulses, you're looking at beans or soybeans, etc. Those product is milled down, then fed through the system, and it comes out and formed into different products. So you can make breakfast cereals like Oaties, we can make snacks, bran sticks, dairies, Rice Krispies, and various other products. I'll allude to that a little bit later to show you all of that. So that is, in essence, the technology that we sit with. What you will hear in when you start talking about extruders on the inside, there are two types of extruders, single screw extruders and twin screw extruders. So a single screw have only one screw in the barrel that falls through the product and then cooks it, where a twin screw have two screws, and that's the two different technologies. We focus on twin screw extruders. So a single screw works only in friction. And what it means is as the product goes through that, if there's any parameter that change the viscosity of that product, then that unit will have a new operating condition. Now, this is typically technology that's been well used over these years. Single screws have been there since 1930. The first single screw have been built. where twins are the new technology, more advanced, and this they work like a positive displacement pump. And if you think about it, we use twin screws air compressors, so we can use compress air with a similar technology. So that's why this system is very much more robust in terms of the compared to variation in viscosities and friction, and that's give us a very close control over the product. So if you're sitting with just in basic a single versus a twin, if there's any change on the inlet conditions, the outlet conditions change to be amplified. So you are actually controlling an unstable process all the time. And that is when you're looking at a single. When you're looking at a twin screw extruder, it has the effect that if there's a change on the input, let's say like particle size or whatsoever, the system actually dampened it. There's still an effect on the output, but there's more a dampening effect. And I think this is the fundamental difference between the two technologies for everybody really to take note of. So what are the benefits of those? First of all, it's a continuous high pressure cooking process. It's very cost effective. Products are mainly dry, so you don't need additional cooling. You don't need additional cooling for storage. So you have the shelf life stable product. It's energy efficient. You can use it to produce large amounts of product. And as I mentioned, long stable lives. And it's a green technology with no waste streams. And this is something, if you're looking at food processing, one of our biggest problems all the time is the treatment of the effluent water, because that is contaminated and you can't put that back into your sewage lines. And it has a relative small footprint for what you can achieve with a system like that. So where does this whole thing fits in? And I think this is the important thing. If we're looking at the economic revitalization of Africa, the developing world after COVID, we're sitting with a couple of resources. We're sitting with a couple of things that's really attributes of the region, and that is land, that is you produce, and soil and water. So those are the things that look. So if you look at the processing of using an extruder, we are sitting with taking the raw material basically that's being produced, and this extrusion plant create the heart of a whole value chain. And that is a circular economy that you can create by installing it. So what an extruder do as a technology, you cannot do a person cannot do. So often we say, technology take away jobs, but here we're sitting with a technology that actually creates jobs, because that creates the heart of a whole value chain where you beneficiate the produce. That produce then is sent through the whole value chain to the end customers, whatever the products are, and I'll come back to that. And that create a money flow stream back again that create a sustainable circle. And the benefits of all of this are the things like jobs, poverty alleviation, economic growth, beneficiation, etc., etc. So I think that is the main thing of where extrusion fits in the whole value chain of the economy. Now, what is important also, and I think some of the previous speakers alluded to that, about local manufacturing, local processing. And I think this is where it really boils down to. If we're looking at where we're coming from, importing products, no matter how you look at it, there's a few guys that benefit, and the only guy that benefit from imports are the guy who's the local agent. But if you're looking from an economic point of view, from the region or the country, it is a way of bleeding money out of the country. So all that money that goes out of the country to import something, somewhere else it needs to be replenished. And so it makes much better sense to take your local produce, and instead of adding value to that, processing it locally, and then that means you can start exporting those products. And these are resources that are available in Africa, and that will create a net inflow of money into that region, into that country. And there are, as we speak, more and more governments that are starting to say, sorry, we are not going to allow imports of grains and so on anymore. It has to be produced locally. But the next step is also, what do we do with that? We as humans, we cannot consume those products raw, it needs to be cooked. We cannot consume raw maize, raw grains, raw pulses. We need to cook it. And this is really where extrusion comes into the equation. So our focus has been to, in research and development all these years, to how to process safe, affordable, nutritional foods from locally produced agricultural products. Because that creates you that whole value beneficiation of local beneficiation, etc. All of that comes into the equation by doing that. And we've looked at, if we're looking at Africa and we look at our resources available, basically what we're sitting with a large supply and production of local produce, maize, wheat, rice, sorghum, soy, cassava, millet, chickpeas, etc. And these are scattered all over Africa where it's being produced. And we're sitting with a growing population of people that need to eat, going, towards 2 billion in the next 10 to 20, 15 years. So that is the opportunity. Some people say this is a problem. I think it's an opportunity. We're sitting with the local resources and we just need to bring all of that together. And then another huge benefit of using technology is we all know that if we're looking at the processing and you look at the human, we have a saying that we say good nutrition leads to optimal brain development and good health and ultimately thriving communities. So effectively looking at what we as humans need to consume and what we have, we can look at all of those and we can use extrusion to formulate using the raw materials that we have and extrusion and fortification of the products. We can come up with affordable nutritional foods for every type of person and that it's out there. So we can formulate those and make those produce and come up with affordable nutritional foods, which is what the continent are needing. Now, I'm just going to, Lynette, if you can just confirm to me, this is a video. I'm not sure whether it will play across. So can you see the video playing?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is an extrusion plant that we put up in a tent. So every year there's an exhibition in South Africa, and just to show everybody that technology can actually operate in a tent, we set up this facility at the exhibition, and we actually produce then their snacks. So on the one side we have raw maize going in, and on the other side we have snacks coming out. So we do the snacks, we do the flavoring, and it's just a way of showing people what a extrusion plant like this can do. So if you can put it in a tent, I think you can put it anywhere in the world. So this is the idea of just showing that it tend to be one of the more popular stands, not because of the technology or the equipment, it's because the kids love the snacks. But that is part of the whole process. So we just do that and as an annually at the event of showing how an extrusion work and how actually easy it is to operate a facility like this. So to give you, of course, taking it more to the plants that we have, extrusion plants, you get different types of plants, but the dominant ones are the cereal plants, breakfast cereal porridges. So this is an indication of the type of plants that you get. This is a pet food plant. It's being used in the pet food environment. It's also the instant maize porridges. It's growing quite significantly over the continent, because having an instant porridge there, you don't need to cook it anymore. You just add milk or water and you can eat the foods. And that is really where you're looking at with extrusion. All the products are ready to eat. It's already pre-cooked under controlled conditions, and we then are sitting with those products. Here is an aqua feed plant. So Africa as well, aqua feed is growing, farming of that. So all those fish, they need fish feed, where previously pellets were used to produce aqua feeds. Now these days, everybody accepting that extrusion is really the most economical way of doing it. Reason being that you're sitting with products that are cooked and the digestibility of those products are much higher. This is a multi-grain cereal plant, and also interesting, since it's touching on the topic of today, we're sitting with solar PV systems. We have plants that are running actually on solar. So we're sitting actually with 2 plants now, one in Namibia, the other one in South Africa. The one in Namibia is completely running on solar with a backup generator. And the one in South Africa that we recently built, we're sitting also with a solar PV plant, augmenting and actually giving for 90% of the power requirements of that plant. So that shows you can actually take the technology and combine it with other sources of supply. And this is actually the facility where we're sitting. There's all the solar. That's the farm. So that's the fish farm where they farm in tunnels the fish. And here sitting with the food processing plant on this side, and all of that actually see how you on a daily basis we've actually taken the energy out and using that from the solar with a battery system that we can run actually also during the night with that system. On our extrusion R&D center, this is really where we work on the applications of the extruders and the products. So here it's all about recipe formulation. And part of that is then our training. Here is our training. And in Nairobi, Kenya, 1 to 3 of August, I think everybody's invited. Please come and join us. Professor Mian Rias from Texas A&M University in the US, he's coming and he's doing most of the training together with some of our colleagues. And so, yeah, it's all about making people aware of applications of extrusion and how it can be a benefit to us. We're doing daily product development trials in our facilities. And these are really looking at developing the products, developing the recipes of the new products. So that is happening. And we have that link with the university for all our trials. And this enables us to develop new applications and products. So for here, if you're looking at pet food products being produced that you can use for extrusion, from the normal pet foods to the new pet treats, and these days high moisture extrusion where you bring in real meat, all those are things that's being done. Shrimp feed as well. So there you're looking at this minute kind of products that you need to do. 0.6 millimeter of shrimp feed, that is quite a challenge to do. And then for the fish guys, we're doing trials where basically you can do by changing the parameters in the extruder. You're making pet food, the fish feed, depending on the application, whether it should be floating or sinking. And those are all being controlled by the technology. And depending then on the fish that you are farming with, you decide, you can control the fish feed, actually exactly the buoyancy of that for the applications. Here are some more pet treats. These are coming in more and more, where people are giving the pets different types of products. The colors and shapes, that's all only for the owner. It's not the dog doesn't care. He just wants to eat. But the owner said it must be good for, I need to like it. So it's a very interesting thing on why the thing looks like it looking, on the pet treat side. Breakfast cereals, you're looking at a different application from your OTs, Rice Krispies, cornflakes type of products, do porridges. So these are all applications of taking the raw material, taking your grains that you produce and adding value to that. On the snack environment, once again, also similar. We're sitting with different types, from the normal cheese snacks to tortilla chips to various types of snacks. And then just to show you here is where we're making a tortilla chip. So in the end, you are extruding in the process a sheet. That sheet is then sent through a cutter. And as the product goes through the cutter, at the back end of the cutter, you have your tortilla chip. And then you will take that product and you will flavor it. And there you go. And you have your tortilla chip. So the applications of the technology for Africa, I think, is enormous. There are so many areas where we can bring it in and apply it and assist in food production, poverty alleviation, local beneficiation, and so on. Then the other one here is the latest one is, of course, it's the whole plant-based revolution. So we can actually make meat analog products from plants, where we're making patties, burgers, nuggets, and so on. And it's important for us to understand the drivers towards it, because some people will say, yeah, plant-based, that's vegetarian, that's vegan, that's only for a certain type of people. We don't eat. I love my meat, and I also love my meat. But in the end, you're sitting with what is driving this thing. And if you're looking at the whole issue around global warming, look at how much CO2 per kilogram of protein is emitted. You're looking at 2.4 kilogram of CO2 is emitted to produce 1 kilogram of soy protein, compared to 178 kilograms of CO2 is emitted if we produce 1 kilogram of beef. If we go for water, the same thing applies. 38 liters for plant-based protein to more than 1,600 liters of water being consumed for the same one. And if you're looking at the amount of land that we need to produce that per kilograms, 8 versus 1,300 square meters. And these are the things that is driving the process, why we will be forced to move more towards products that's there. The mark, and then if we look at those type of products, and this is an interesting one where the latest developments we are looking at creating then products that are we call high moisture extrusion cooking, where we make a meat analog product, where that product comes out, and as you cut it, you can look at it, it has a meat-like structure. It's plant protein that's been formed into a meat-like structure. And if you take that square block, of course, a square block doesn't look like meat, and you cut it up a little bit with a knife, you can actually start creating and making yourself a product which behaves and you exactly like meat, but it's a plant-based product. And if you take those products, we can actually take that, put some crumbing on it, and you can put it in a fryer. And once you put it in the fryer, you can take that product out and you're sitting with something that looks and behave like a meat chicken schnitzel. So people will look at that and they say, look, you look at that product and you see it while they're cutting it, look like chicken, taste like chicken, but they say it's not chicken. You know, some guys say, no, I don't believe that. You know, is that true or not? Of course, but that is where. So that's a new development that's happening in the world around that. And I think that the market trend of these are enormous. And if you're looking at the forecast, they're looking at a $1 trillion industry over the next 30 to 40 years. That's what's coming out of here. So there's going to be a massive shift toward plant-based. And it's driven by global warming, it's driven by the whole green movements that we're sitting with. So yes, it is coming, and I think everybody needs to be ready for it. How much it will take of the total meat share is still, it won't replace it. So anybody who's in cattle farming, don't worry, you will not lose need to stop it. As the world is growing, there's a movement towards it because we need to feed more people. And that is really what is driving the whole process. So they're looking at a 6% market share. That will boils down to 25 million metric tons of plant-based meat production that need to happen. And if you're looking at the whole value chain of how this can create opportunities in Africa, I think it's enormous, because to do that, we need the crops. We need the raw material that needs to be planted. From there, you need the processing facilities to create those products that will be out there. And I think that is the opportunity. We're talking about conservatively around 800 manufacturing facilities that need to be set up across the globe. And this is where we're going at. So yeah, I think this is the main thing. These are the investments that is planned according to the Good Food Institute that needs to happen to provide all the people in the world the required foods. So I think that is the opportunity that is out there. So yeah, from my side, just to conclude, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited about the opportunities of how we can actually use local technologies, local beneficiation to really provide to the needs of Africa and the developing world.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Prof. LJ, for that wonderful presentation. I think through your presentation, you've tackled some of the issues and barriers that Michael had pointed out, like access to market, production of the produce that needs to move to the consumer, and access to the market for that. So thank you for that. I could see a lot of vegetarians and vegans smiling through your presentation. As you can see, a lot of plant-based diets, and the need for us to move to a plant-based diet is really important. So thank you for that. I think we'll take only 2 questions because of time, but I can see on the chat that Eileen has put a link to the training. If you're interested in the extrusion training that's happening in Nairobi, if you want to learn more about how to get how to operate, how to get access to an extruder, you can come to the extrusion training happening here in Nairobi from the 1st to the 3rd of August, and there's a link there for you to be able to register for this. And I'm sure Prof. LJ will also be there to give more details. So my question is on the extruder. Do you offer it as a service, machinery as a service, or does one have to purchase the extruder machine?
Yeah, we do have equipment available at our facility where we use it to do product development. But in the end, it's all about setting up a facility close to the produce in the country. So it is available, then we sell it, and we set up the processing plants in the country together then with training and mentoring on how to operate the plants. And we also develop the recipes at our facilities in South Africa first, and then we set up the plant to make those products exactly in the countries. So it's the main thing about it is why we're doing it is also, so you want to get local beneficiation, local jobs, and keep the money in the countries, for money flowing out cross borders all the time. That's just impoverishing the whole continent. And I think that is something that we need to stop. We need to really look at how we can add value locally and then create the wealth and the revenue and economic revitalization in those areas.
Okay, I can see a question from Wilson about how the extruder cooks. I think you had mentioned this in your presentation, but maybe you could just touch on it again. How does it do the cooking?
All right. Yeah, that's a very a good question. If you're looking at the extruder, you're sitting with basically as a barrel. Think about it like a very simplified meat grinder, so on the side. So you have the barrel and you have an auger on the inside that's turning, and then you put in the raw material, and the raw material is then pushed through this auger to the front where we have a die with a small hole. So it's basically you creating a pressure of the product going through the extruder. Because of that pressure and then the friction between the raw materials creating the heat. So as you are heating the friction, like you're heating your hand, that heat, of course, under high pressure, you're creating a lot of heat by doing that of the friction. And that friction creates the heat that cook the product. So it's actually a friction cooking process. And the whole process from the beginning of the extruder to the end of the extruder is 40 seconds. So it's a very fast cooking process, which is also good because then you don't break down the nutritional value of your product by having a short cooking process than a long cooking process that break down your nutritional value.
That answers your question, Wilson. Yeah, I think my other question was on the different products. You mentioned instant porridge, cereal, aquafeed. Does each of these need its own machine or have its own machine, or is it one machine that can be used interchangeably for the different products?
All the products that I showed you today as examples have been made on the same machine. So it's the same machine that can do, just with different configuration, different mixtures, because some you make from maize, some you made from wheat, some you made of a mixture of maize and soy. and so on. So it's a mixture that you do, which is the raw materials, which are basically grains and pulses. That's 90% of all the products are based on that. And so therefore it's the same machine, different setup, slightly different configuration. But if you have the machine, you can actually make those different products.
Okay, amazing. I can see the questions are coming in. Wilson also asking about, does the machine wear out, and is there a challenge for it to contaminate the food out of the friction?
Okay,
How do you
yeah,
deal with that?
it's like any operating equipment, there is wear and tear. But the equipment that we use are designed such that you know it's food hygienic, so that all the products that you are in touch with is meeting the international standards in terms of where we're sitting. So contamination, what you do also do is if there is something part that breaks, we always put in metal detectors, and you're also putting magnets and so on as well, to make sure that you have no metal going through the process that might end up in the food processes. So there are ways where you actually protect the product and making sure that you meet the requirements. From just one thing, from a maintenance point of view, actually it's a very robust system. If you really look at the extruder, if you look at what I've explained there, you have basically a motor with a gearbox and then 2 rotating screws. So it's a very robust system that can operate under very harsh conditions. And that is really, I think, the biggest benefit. Because the problem often with extrusion plants, or not with processing plants, are keeping those plants running. You know, if something failed, how do you keep it running? And that is the important thing. If you're looking at where we're coming, it's a robust system, and it's really actually very simple to maintain. And that's the main thing around it, to make sure that the plant keep on running and doesn't end up being a white elephant because you can't get the spares.
Okay, I can see a lot of interest in the comments on the equipment, including the cost of the equipment as well as the life cycle, and the capacity. Maybe you can just tackle that as we end this session.
Yeah, I think cost of equipment and life, if you look at it, you know, it is not a cheap solution, because think about it, cheaper solution is a pot on a stove from a cooking perspective. So we're sitting here with processing plants. Processing plants typically you run from 250 kilograms per hour and upwards. That's the way it becomes economically. If you want to make 5 kgs an hour, you can't use that. In the lab, we have a facility extruders that runs between 50 and 150 kgs an hour. And that is to not waste too much raw materials while we do testings and trials. But when you're looking at the commercial side, and there's a question for the smallest one to make aqua feeds, from an economical point of view, 250 kilograms per hour and upwards. Our biggest machines do 4.5 tons an hour. And if you want to use more than that, you can put 1, 2, 3, 4 next to each other. So there are plants that do up to 6 of those machines next to each other, because then you can produce quite a lot. So anything from 250 maximum, actually effectively unlimited. You can go as big as you want. It's all depending on what the market size is in terms of what it is. If you're looking at the cost of the unit, typically what you're paying here is around cost. It's difficult just to say because you're looking at a plant, but to give you a feel, a plant that produces about 0.5 ton will cost you around 10 million South African rand, which is basically 500,000 US, to give you a feel. So you can do basically 500 kgs an hour for 500,000 US.
All right. I think you've answered most of the questions that were put out. Thank you so much for your time, Prof. And if you're interested to hear more about extrusion and the extruder, you can sign up for the extrusion training happening, and the link is on the chat. And you can also, I think Prof. LJ, you can also put your email down so that anyone who would like to contact you individually can do that with any questions and any interest. So thank you so much to all of our speakers for such insightful, rich content that you've given us today. I'm sure that our participants today have left with something that they can go and think about or implement or research or tell someone about or look for solutions for. So we really are happy to be part of this movement, to be able to tell people more about energy, the uses, the productive use is what we were talking about today. So please give us feedback before you go. And we would also like to take a photo of ourselves, because it's always great to have a moment, some mentors for us to be able to view. So kindly put on your camera so that we can take a photo. Put on your cameras. I can see cameras are coming on. We just want to be able to take a photo. Ruth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can we smile? I understand we are hungry after seeing the snacks. But please
Yes.
smile. Okay. Can we say cheese?
Please.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on page 2. Page 2.
Turn on your cameras.
Page 2, kindly. Page 2. People are hungry, so I'll just take the photo.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you so much, everyone, for being here. We also would like to, we have an announcement about our second webinar. It's not actually a webinar, it's a round table, because we are going physical. We are going physical. Please save the date. It will be on the 28th of April, 2023. It will be an evening event, a Friday evening. So please save, this is our date, us and you. The World Energy Day Foundation and you will be communicating more on the venue and the costs as well, but we'll be looking at progressive innovation. We'll have some rich speakers, some possible event exhibitions. So please look out for this in April. April is our next date. We'll be looking forward to seeing all of you there at our physical round table. It's been years since we met at a round table, so we are really excited about this happening. We also have our conference, which we have dates, the 18th and 19th of October. So also book that in your calendars. It's going to be in Nairobi this year. And so we'll be communicating more about the venue as well. So we are really excited to have kicked off with our first roundtable. And we are happy to be able to continue collaborating with you. If you would like to sponsor any of our events or sponsor any of our roundtables or conferences, please reach out to us on info@worldenergyday.net.